All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Mike Dutter with the National Weather Service in Wakefield with your 11 a.m. briefing for this Thursday morning. Um, really, a big change is on tap for the weekend compared to the last few days with much cooler temperatures, some welcome rain, perhaps. Coming in as a cold front comes through. There is a marginal risk for severe storms, mainly across southern Virginia into northeast North Carolina for today, as well as perhaps localized flash flooding, although in reality, that would be, if that did occur, it'd mainly be over the urban areas. If we do get any rain, it will be quite welcome as our drought has worsened from last week, our drought conditions, as I'll show in a second. And again, the big thing is that the change is that the temperatures are going to be much cooler through the weekend and the weather much more unsettled. So let me first show you the current observations across the area. And you can see there's a big change of these numbers here are the temperatures, and then the wind speeds are the barbs there, but the wind speeds and the wind direction. And notice how there's a lot of these northerly winds up here across northern Virginia into Maryland. Temperatures are much cooler in the 60s and into lower 70s. Meanwhile, across southern Virginia, you have these southerly winds and the temperatures are much warmer. So really right along I-64 right now, that's where our cold front is, right near and along 64. And that is going to be the battleground for potentially thunderstorms later this afternoon into tonight as this front gradually shifts southward. And that, as I'll show that a little bit more here in a few seconds. So here's our weather pattern for the next few days. Again, here's that front that I was talking about is going to trigger those showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. The front is going to be south of the area tomorrow, bringing much cooler temperatures for the entire region. Temperatures will struggle to get out of the 60s tomorrow. And there will be continued showers throughout the area. Again, it's not going to be an all-day rain, but certainly showers will be around. Saturday, again, that front can remain south of the area. Again, much scattered showers, lingering showers around. And really, this front remains near the area, or maybe going just north of the area later in the weekend into Monday. Again, with continued showers and storms, so it will be unsettled. The rainfall amounts are still highly uncertain across the area. We need the rain, as we all know. So that rain, any rain will be appreciated. But again, there's a lot of uncertainty where the rainfall will set up and how much we will get. So first of all, I wanted to talk a little bit about the severe storm potential. The Storm Prediction Center has put much of our area along and south of I-64 in a marginal risk for severe thunderstorms today. Some scattered thunderstorms will develop this afternoon, again, along and south of that front. So again, right in this area. And some of them could be a little bit stronger, some wind gusts of 45 to maybe 60 miles an hour as they move towards the southeast at 10 to 15 miles an hour. They'll be relatively slow moving when they do occur. But again, most likely the threat will be very isolated with regards to the wind gusts, any wind gust threat from storms. And the heavy rainfall potential for today, again, there is a marginal risk for excessive rainfall. And again, this would mainly be over those urban areas, and areas, or even the towns of we are obviously in a rainfall deficit. So much of the rainfall will be welcome when we get it. However, if a thunderstorm sets up over an urban area, or town, there could be a small risk for some minor flash flooding. Again, it's a very small risk, but there is one as we're getting into summertime, so when we get frontal boundaries that become stationary over us, that does tend to lead to localized flash flooding if they set up over an urban area. And I just wanted to show you really quick regarding the thunderstorm activity, just sort of how this could evolve this afternoon. This is just one of our models that, this is around 2 p.m. You can see these storms starting to develop along the I-64 corridor. And then later this afternoon, you can into this evening, this is around 5 or 6 p.m., you start to see additional thunderstorms develop. Again, the exact placement isn't going to be as it shows, but you get the idea that through the afternoon into the evening hours, this is around 8 o'clock, you can just see thunderstorms that will be ongoing, especially across the southern part of Virginia, and they really into northeast North Carolina, and they really will continue into this evening for a while. With this front, it will still be barely through the area by this evening, and so the thunderstorm activity will be ongoing through this evening into the early morning hours before dissipating later on tonight. And again, just showing you the rainfall potential. We sort of brushed the area with half to locally an inch of rain. Not everywhere will see these exact amounts. There will be areas that will see less rainfall. However, areas that could see more rainfall of this would be most likely, again, along and south of that front where the heaviest or the thunderstorm activity does occur. And then we do have fairly low confidence in these exact rainfall totals and placement over the next few days. So keep an eye on the latest forecast. And you will notice that our probability of precipitation forecast over the next, really through Sunday, is fairly high. Now, it's not going to be a washout by any stretch. There's going to be a lot of periods of dry weather here. But remember that our probability of precipitation is only the probability of 1/100th of an inch of rain. So while a lot of places will see some rain over the next few days, in some places it may accumulate a fair amount. The other places it may not accumulate that much. Again, we're getting into those scattered thunderstorms, summertime type thunderstorms, and it's going to be tough to pin down the exact placement of that. So the weekend does not look like a total washout, but it will be, especially Friday and Saturday, will be cool and warming up towards Sunday and Monday. Now here's the 7-day total rainfall. That's for the next week. This is welcome news for those that, for all of us that are in a drought. We're seeing that there could be 1, 2, maybe locally 3 inches, especially across the southern part of the area of rainfall over the next week. Lighter amounts to the north, but still over an inch up there as well. For the forecast for the next week, again, notice the cooler temperatures for Friday and Saturday, well below normal. Actually, normals are in the upper 70s and even around 80 at this point. So as that front sags down, you're going to see those cooler temperatures. But then notice they start warming up to near or even above normal by Memorial Day into early next week. And just compound, and then just seeing those continued chances for showers and storms really each day, especially in the afternoon and into the evening hours. The pattern will be somewhat unsettled, so we will continue with that frontal boundary nearby. So we'll see those chances of showers and storms each day. So with this frontal boundary over us now and then dipping south later today into tonight, there is a moderate risk of rip currents for those onshore flow and the waves increasing to 3 to 5 feet, and that will continue. And in fact, there'll be high risk of rip current tomorrow and Saturday due to that very strong northeast flow and those breaking waves coming into the shore. So the swimming, not only will the cold temperatures not be favorable for swimming for at least early this weekend, but also the rip currents, that there will be dangerous rip currents out there as well. As for the drought monitor was just updated this morning, and so this is the new information from the drought monitor. You can see that if you recall from last week, there was mainly just the Southside Virginia had D3 drought. That has now extended into much more of the area, including central parts of Central Virginia, the peninsulas, into the eastern shore. Again, we are just very dry, and we continue to be very dry. And in fact, almost 50% of Virginia is now under a D3 extreme drought or higher. And that's the greatest it's been set for nearly 20 years. Last time we had this much D3 drought in Virginia was in October of 2007. And so any rainfall that we get this weekend into next week will be very welcome. Unfortunately, we need about a foot of rain over the next month to even think about ending the drought. So this drought is not going anywhere anytime soon. It's going to remain, through the coming weeks. It may change some depending on how much rain we get this week, but the amount of rain to end the drought is sort of where we're a long ways from getting that. And this is just showing, this is the standardized precipitation index. This is just showing for the past 90 days. And this is just showing moisture conditions and the seasonal estimation of precipitation. And you can it really outlines very well where the D3 drought is. Unfortunately, some of our partners have seen some rain in North Carolina over the past few weeks, but the remainder of the area has remained very dry. And so it just gives you a good gauge of showing how dry the entire state is, the state of Virginia, and even, again, much of North Carolina and Maryland as well. So quickly, let's go to the marine forecast. Again, talking about that frontal boundary, we will see the continued northeast flow, increasing northeast flow, in fact, through tonight into tomorrow and even into Saturday. The marine conditions for boating, unfortunately, early in the weekend will not be great with those gusty northeast winds and larger waves. So we have pretty much the entire weekend right through Monday. We have, especially over the coastal waters, we have elevated conditions, close to or above small craft advisory conditions, certainly through Saturday, and again, even over the coastal waters Sunday into Monday, although improving somewhat by Monday. And this is our marine wind potential for the next few days. Notice how, especially in the Chesapeake Bay and the coastal waters, we do start to see improving conditions by Sunday with the winds, but notice tomorrow, especially even into Saturday morning, the winds, those onshore winds, are going to be tough for boating activities. And the same idea for the coastal water and offshore waters as well. A little bit stronger winds, obviously, over the coastal waters. The winds do turn southerly on Sunday, which should help to and relax, which should make somewhat improved conditions over the coastal waters, but there will be swell and that will continue. So the waves could be a little high even on Sunday over the coastal waters. Significant wave height over the next few days. Again, the worst conditions are going to be Friday into Saturday, calming down in the Chesapeake Bay for the later in the weekend into early next week. And over the coastal waters, again, you can see that continued swell really dominating right through the 4 to 5 foot swell, really dominating right through early next week. So despite the winds decreasing, there will be definitely some waves out there for folks to contend with later in the weekend. And speaking of waves, later tonight into tomorrow, with that combined swell and wind wave, we do get some chaotic seas that with opposing northeast wind wave and southeast swell. So it will be definitely confused sea state over the next day or two as with that northeast wind developing. And next week and beyond, again, our temperatures look like they're going to go back above normal. We saw that in our 7-day forecast, but Precipitation looks like it will be near to maybe slightly above normal chances for precipitation. Again, we're going to have a somewhat active pattern continuing into next week, so there will be even into next weekend. So there could be chances for precipitation, really, perhaps each day. More of the afternoon and evening, variety, summertime thunderstorm activity. And that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll be happy to take any questions if you have any.